Hey everybody, welcome to Hills and Gills. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chuck. We've got a series going on of some of our favorite jigs that we're tying up from Bream all the way up to Muskies and Striper. And we're tying some up right now for Brandon to be taken down to Gunnersville on his trip next week. And if you've not seen Mr. Gizzard, or as I call it, the sexier shad right here in the bucktail, links down in the description in the playlist, along with some crappie jigs as well as white bass. But today we're tying up the one I call the Blue Dragon. Nothing beats a black and blue jig. And this is in the half ounce as well. So let's get ready to tie up the Blue Dragon. Okay, guys, we're getting ready to get this blue and black jig tied here real fast. And as always, I like going over everything that we use in the video in case you don't pour your own jig heads like we do and you want to buy some unfinished and want to paint the colors that we've got ours painted in. We start out with some LA colors in white as a primer. This is a 164. And if you get it with a sticker on the cap, like I say in all my videos, it comes with a hardeners in it, making it a harder fingernail polish. And then we added a base coat of 424. This is like a storm blue. It's called Wired. And then we topped it off with some clear blue metal flake, as you can see right there. It goes on clear with all that blue metal flake just to make it pop out. And we added some eyes to it that we picked up off Amazon with my favorite super glue, Loctite. And then finished it up with a little hobby brush, like you paint model cars with and stuff, with some UV resin. This is the hard type. And put a nice coat on, hit it with a UV light, and it was ready to start tying. If you don't have a UV light, put them on a little rack, a piece of styrofoam, stick them in a box or whatever, take them outside on a sunny day, and they'll cure like it right there, and you'll be good to go. You don't have to have a UV light to use that resin. And we're going to be, like I said, doing a black and blue. But I like adding a little bit of red to any of my jigs when I tie, sometimes especially like a big bass jig. We're going to be using Danville. This is an A nylon. And we're going to go ahead and get this bad boy tied up right here. I'm leaving the collar on this one this time. So we're going to go right down to the tip of the hook. Now, when I once hear it clicking down there, just like that, I'll back up about 8 or 9 turns up the shank of the hook. We'll go ahead and get that cut off. And the first thing I'm going to add is a nice big blue hackle feather. You can go with a black. I like a blue. And I'm just going to let it sit right on top of that shank and let it kick off the back of it. Probably about 2.5 inches or so off that hook, or maybe even 3, just to give it some action when you're swimming it through the water. So we'll go ahead and get this measured up here and get him cut. I like leaving quite a bit of stem on it, because that way you can tie it right on the shank of that hook and just make it a lot better. So we'll go ahead and remove that. Then I'll do one more measurement with it here. Always make sure you got it how you want it before you start tying it on there. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to just pinch it up about right where the tip of that hook is right there. And I'm going to start at the bottom. And I'm just going to go ahead and remove all these feathers down through here, exposing that stem that we're going to be tying up with. We'll take another look at him here, make sure he's about where we want him. Yep, that looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to hold him right on the top right here. I need a little bit more of that stem removed. So I'll just reach in there, cut that, no problem. And then I'll just add a couple of loose wraps to it and adjust it if I need to. At this point, I'll make sure it's laying right down across that shank of that hook like we're wanting him. And then I'll just go right down through there, giving him some wraps. And I'm not really going to set him down right now to make sure I don't have to adjust it, because sometimes these feathers will roll on you. That happens more time than not. That looks pretty good. And now at this point, we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to tie this bad boy in here. There we go. And then we're going to run right back up to the collar of the jig right here. There, that looks pretty good. Now at this point, I'm going to take a little bit of the Loctite glue that we got right here, and I'm just going to add a little bit to that thread right there, not much, just to hold that into place, because, you know, this is a big bass jig. And the first color we're going to be going with, we're going to be adding the black to it, the belly part of it. So we got our black hair right here. And we'll go down through here and find us some longer hair. Right there we go. Just give him a measurement here about where I want him at. I don't want this too long. I don't want it to go way back on this. I just want it to go back just past the bend of that hook, if all possible. About right there looks good, so we're going to go ahead and cut this. There we go. Get rid of any of that loose that may be in there. Take one more measurement of him there. That looks pretty good right there. Now we're just going to go ahead, lay this right down behind the head of that jig. We're going to give it one loose route, one more loose route, and then we're going to give one tight one right there. Now at that point, we can turn it, make sure it's seated down good on that hook right there. We're holding down on it. And I need to push some of this back right here off the head, which is no problem. Then we'll push him right up, back up against him there. And if I got any sticking over, you can always cut them, or you can just go ahead and leave them, because it is a fishing jig. So I'm just going to go ahead, grab these few right here, and just trim them off. Take a look at him there. That looks pretty good. Give him a couple more tight routes. It's looking pretty good. Then we'll tie him down a little bit right here real fast. Build the end of this collar up right down here toward the head of the jig. Just like so. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're just going to take this and we're just going to flip him around right here. And if I need to, I can just twist him around and adjust him. There we go. That's looking good. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our blue right here now. So I'm just going to pinch off another piece of it here, of this blue, and get it cut. There we go. Take a look at him here. I want him about the same length as that black. So I'll just keep measuring him up here, removing any of that loose stuff. About right there looks good. So I got him measured. I'm going to take my scissors, cut this excess off. Give him a nice smooth cut just like that. And then we're just going to go ahead and lay him right on top of the jig here. And again, we're going to give him a couple loose routes, and then one or two tight ones right there. And then at this point, I want to look at him. I want to flare it out if I need to. That looks pretty good. I may need to bring it down just a little off the back of the head. There we go. That's looking good. So I'm going to hold him right here real tight. And we're just going to work right up toward the head of the jig. Just some nice tight wraps. Then we're going to turn her back around here. Take a look at him. That's looking good. Give him a couple more turns right down here at the end. Up about halfway, back down. All the way back once, and then right back down to the head, and it's time to tie this bad boy off right here. So we're going to go ahead and do 5 or so. Seat that in, and then we're going to do 5 more. I always do 5 and 5 on my bass jigs. Or 6 if I lose count. And then I'm going to wrap the thread around my line. Give it a nice pull. Then go ahead and get this collar finished up there. There we go. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to add a couple of drops of super glue. I had a couple on the top here, right up next to the head of that jig. Then I'm going to come right down here and add some right on the bottom, or which would be the top. And just go around it and just dab a few little drops. And then I'm going to take an old paintbrush, and I'm just going to work this around that jig. All of that super glue, locking it in here to give it a shiny finish. Plus, this is not going to go anywhere. Well, guys, there you go. The black and blue bucktail jig right there. One of my favorites. I love black and blue when throwing for a big largemouth. And we had to let that super glue, that Loctite super glue, dry up there where we could turn it around to give you a look at the finished product right here in the vise. When I'm tying for any kind of jigs, whether it's for crappie, up to muskie and stripers, I love the Loctite super glue. When you want to get that on there, it gives it a nice shiny look, and it seats down into that thread on that collar, and you don't have to worry about your jig coming apart, losing any of your hair when you're out there chasing those big bass, whatever you may be fishing for. And also as well, if you're going to be adding like a hackle feather to it to just give it some action when you're out there, always remember from your longest hairs, let it come out about a ½ inch or an inch back. That way when you're jigging it in, it just gives it a little bit more action when you're out there fishing. But if you like the video, guys, I hope you give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to check the playlist out down below. We got more jig tying down there, how to remove collars. Got a video down there as well in the description, and how we pour jigs and paint them up as well. Just a few nice videos I hope you check out. And if you're new to the channel, hope you subscribe. And I hope you hit that notification bell. A lot more jig tying coming down the road. Follow us over on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, stay safe out there in the woods, on the water. And we will see you right here again at Hills and Gills. Have a great day.